Is virtual, and we do not have Ms. Alaices nor Ms. Ramirez at this time. But they had called in that they were, so they may be tuning in here shortly. But welcome everyone to our meeting. We'll begin with our invocation, and will be led by Fred Sanchez, followed by the pledges of allegiance, which will be led by John Elder. Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, sir. If you might bow your heads with me. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this beautiful day you gave us. Thank you for that little celebration that we had outside. Please watch our families and their staff, the staff here. Hopefully that everybody's being able to get their corona vaccination, so that hopefully a couple of more months, maybe we can all be together at work. Watch over the little ones at Head Start and their parents and their staff that are still working online. Keep them safe, Lord. Keep them healthy. And thank you for being here with us. I know you're always present when two or more are gathered together. I know your presence is here with this agenda that we have before us, so that we make the right decisions for our children and of all the Region 19 area. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for that. Amen.
Amen. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I started to read Region 19. Thank you all both for your leadership in this regard. I'd like to welcome everyone to our board meeting today. And I'm going to read just for everyone's information, a portion of our policy. The board received a packet of information last week related to topics of today's agenda. And each board member has had an opportunity to review the information prior to this meeting. It is the policy of the board that if members of the audience wish to address the board, they must sign the form at the entrance, and commentaries and or questions are limited to the public forum section of the said agenda as is provided in our board policy. Is there anyone who signed up to address the board? Thank you very much. So that brings us to item F on our agenda, which is our consent agenda. We have a couple of action items. One is consideration and possible approval of minutes of regular Board of Directors meeting of May the 25th, 2021. And the other item on our consent agenda is consideration and possible ratification of the two budget amendments that, again, we've had a week to review. Of course, we were going to take it in one motion, unless someone wants to pull any one of either of these items. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull number 2
Okay,
for questions.
so we'll pull number 2 and act on it independently and separately. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of 3/25/2021?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion by Joe Limon and a second by John Elder. And I'm going to pull the board, although we still don't have the other folks. Okay, then we're gonna go pull the board for our voting. Mr. Sanchez,
Yes, aye.
Mr. Elder,
Yes.
Mr. Limon,
Aye.
Ms. Topete,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So our minutes are approved. So we're in item F2, consideration and possible ratification of two budget amendments on pages 20 and 23 of your agenda. Mr. Sanchez.
Mr. Chairman, the reason that I pulled them was the program number On the first one, on page 21, it says 199, 178 media, and the other one is 199, 830 event center. Are both of these for the Region 19 Conference Center, or are these separate from other entities that we have? So,
Yes, sir. Both positions are for the conference center, and the assistant is also supporting another initiative within the department, so we're split funding them. So the 178 is assisting with media services, a portion of the person's salary, and then the org 830, which is the following amendment, is to keep track of the conference center expenditures staff. Now, we are trying to fund them from our 199 initially to start off, because once the project is completed, then we will transfer their salaries over to capture all expenditures for the conference center to their respective budget. But for now, startup costs will be from general fund.
now this, Mr. Chairman, now,
Yes, sir.
is this one also programmed to start the funding when we open up, or is our money's going to be used before we open up the center?
We will use, I guess your question is, we will fund it, absorb it through general fund. And once we start generating operational revenue, then their costs will be transferred over to the conference.
Okay, thank you. Clarification. Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion by Mr. Sanchez to approve item 2, consideration possible ratification of the 2 budget amendments. Do I hear a second?
I second.
And a second by Blanca Pupete. I'm gonna again go through our list and then ask for your vote. Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Elder.
Aye.
Mr. Limon.
Aye.
Ms. Topete.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So those voting and present are all in favor. Do we have anybody else on that I need to ask, Mr.?
No,
Okay, thank you kindly. Appreciate that. So that moves us then to item G, number 3, which is purchases as per resolution by the Board of Directors and Purchasing Cooperative. And this is really informational item, members of the board, but however, does anyone have any comments regarding the list that you see before you?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
on both of them, are these also for the new Region 19 Board Center, or are these for everything within the co-op? Item 217403 and 04.
For both.
That's for both?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Any other questions or comments?
thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Again, we appreciate very much for our purchasing co-op work they do. We do have interlocal agreements now from Arizona through Goodyear, Arizona, Kerrville, Texas, Bedford, Texas, Center ISD in Center, Texas, and Malakoff, Independent School District, Malakoff, Texas. I'm not sure.
John,
You know where
where is that?
Dallas is? It's about within 400 miles.
Oh, that's pretty close.
Kind of close. And of course, we appreciate very much the work that's being done. And that brings us to item 4, which is the Executive Director's Report. And the first item there we have is ESC Region 19 Educator Preparation and Certification Program.
Thank you, Mr. Zabowski. So we do have a few items, and this week's or this month's presentation is our education preparation alternative certification program. And so I'm going to ask Ms. Barbara Maya to go ahead and start the presentation.
Good afternoon, Chairman Zabowski, board members, Dr. Eder. Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to to come and speak to you today. One of the programs that I'm just really excited about speaking to you about is one that I think represents the Service Center so well, in that it's one that we are responsible in producing quality educators. We're talking about teachers in preparation. We're talking about principals for our campuses and librarians as well. We also work with individuals who are interested in getting their child development associates that are interested in working in our Head Start centers as well. So I wanted to start off by just the overview agenda. We'll go over what our ACP is, the programs that we have under that, sort of highlight a little bit about our application process so you can understand how we recruit the individuals that are in our program. Just a little bit of logistics, tuition, the delivery of our program, and of course the accountability that comes with our program. So the Texas Education Agency back in 1994 approved our application that was submitted on behalf of the Education Service Center Region 19 for to allow us to have the program for the teacher preparation program. The application was submitted based on a need that we found here in the Region 19 area. My predecessor who was here before me, who actually was the one who had submitted this application, had found that the districts were asking, for positions to be filled, needing having that void for teachers, especially in the area at the time, in the area of special education, math and science. So we did get approved, and shortly thereafter, we had found that there was also a need for us to assist our districts with principals, also at their campuses. So we then submitted our application for approval for our Principal Certification Academy and got approved for that as well. And then I'll go on to explain later on, but then we have then later on also submitted our application to have what we call our Librarian Alternative Certification Program. And that one came just a few years ago, where I was actually able to be a part of that and submission of that. And that is also based on the needs and the requests coming from our LEAs in the region. Our program here has been very successful throughout the years, and we're very proud to say, and I want to make sure that the understanding that I want to have here, at least at the end of the presentation, is that you'll understand that here at the Service Center, you have a program that's like a mini university, if you will. We deal with registrars, we deal with advising, we're dealing with transcripts, tuition. Some folks we have to drop at a certain time if they're not in attendance. And at the end, of course, we're looking at certification. We make those recommendations once they have taken all of their assessments and gone through the classes needed for their either the Texas Teaching Certificate and or principal or librarian. So this is something that of course requires a lot of support, and I have been very fortunate to be overseeing the program for as long as my time has been here at the Service Center, which is now, I can't believe, 14 years with the Service Center. And the staff is just amazing. I've been very blessed with the support of Dr. Aguirre to grow in this area because of the need, of course, that we still see in the Service Center in the Region 19 area. Very well respected with our partners out in the community. We work in close collaboration with UTEP here locally. Although they have the traditional route to go into teaching, they also have an ACP. So sometimes you find yourselves maybe in slight competition with them, but it really isn't. It just depends on the individuals and what they're really looking for and the type of program that they need. Our programs here are very hands-on type program where we get them into the classroom as soon as possible. As you know, of course, not only do I have these individuals are facilitating the training, but then I have the support of the rest of the Service Center. I've got folks, if I am certifying somebody in special education, for example, from Ms. Jandaretta's department, who can support in that area. I have individuals, if I have someone who's seeking certification in maths or science or social studies, then I work with my specific content consultants from maybe Jose Velasquez's department. So what makes this program very unique is that I have these master educators, these master teachers, if you will, that are facilitating the training for our teachers in preparation. That makes us very unique from a lot of the other programs that you find outside of the Service Center. And of course, one of the things that I speak to a lot when we're doing our recruiting is that the charge of the Service Center, we all know, is to provide that support to the districts. So my job, my responsibility and my honor has been to make sure that I produce the quality teachers that they need, the quality principals that we need, the librarians that we need. And I'm very happy to say we have been very successful with that. I don't always have a pool of teachers waiting because as soon as they get into our program, they are hired. I can't keep as many as I need in class because they are looking for them. So that's something that definitely very proud of saying. And so we just continue with our recruiting efforts to make sure that we have enough of the teachers that we need to fill those positions out there. Just to give you all a little bit of insight as to what we do to recruit our teachers in preparation, for example. It's not just about coming in and saying, you know, I want to be a teacher and here I'm going to pay and here's my application. We have a very stringent screening process where they have to come in. As you know, our preparation program here, it's an accelerated program. The requirements are that you come in already with your bachelor's degree in the area that you're wanting to seek certification in. You must have a 2.5 overall GPA or a 2.75 in the last 60 hours. And these are all mandated by the state. We will do an evaluation of your transcripts to make sure that you do have that coursework and that you do have that GPA, of course. Then we also conduct a phone-in interview so I can get to know them a little bit better and really ask those questions as to why they're wanting to go into education. Why is it you want to become a teacher? This allows us to get them to know them a little bit more. It's important that we know who's coming in. We want to make sure that we have individuals, because it is an accelerated program, it is a 12-year program. They need to be ready to come in and work really hard. You know, I need some folks that are going to demonstrate that they have that content knowledge. I'm not here to teach them the math or science or social studies. I'm here to do the pedagogy piece, how to teach it. So we need for the folks to be ready to go on. So that knowledge is really critical that they come in with this. So the screening process allows us to be able to see who are these individuals. We have a rubric that we follow and we score them. And at the end, we'll see if they make the cut, you know, if you will. And we have some folks that do great and other individuals that this is just maybe not the program for them. And we let them know that. So that's really critical to the success of our program. And it has worked really well for us. And we do have an advisory committee that approves this process and appreciates it because they know that they need to get individuals into the classroom that are ready to take on the challenges, right, and the opportunities of working with our kiddos. And later on, we can go on to discuss that with our other programs. We have a similar process as we are screening for our principals and our librarians as well. Okay. Through the years, so we've also been very fortunate. I want to tell you that we have established some great relationships and partnerships out in our community to enhance, if you will, what we do here at the Service Center. Through the support and guidance, of course, of Dr. Aguirre, we were able to engage in a partner up with the Three Rivers Foundation with a grant that allows us to be the program where we get individuals who are interested in doing STEM. So this particular grant, we focus on math and science folks. We're working directly with one school district for this grant. It was the Clint School District. And we have an individual who is interested, can go through the grant. They are asked, they don't have to work. Okay, they are giving them a living stipend of $55,000 for that year. It allows them to come through the program. It allows them to do the 1-year internship. And at the same time, they will obtain a master's degree through Western Governors University. We were very humbled, if you will, to be asked to be the certification program. They could have chosen others. They chose us. So we do appreciate that. And because of that, we are now on, it is a 5-year grant. We are on year 2. We have already, they only allow us to have 10 interns at a time. We already have finished with our first cohort. Clint is very excited because they no longer have a shortage of math and science teachers for their district. And for the ones that maybe don't get hired immediately, they do have the opportunity then to go and apply to other school districts where I really do need them as well. But this is a great opportunity, one, to make sure that we fill those voids in the area, especially of math and science, and to also help them to continue their education as they obtain their masters. Another really important partnership that I wanted to make sure that I highlighted is now we have partnered up, and I'm very honored to do this and appreciate through the support, again, and the guidance of Dr. Aguirre, to work alongside Ms. Rodriguez, our Head Start director. to now I have, and I'm going on year 2 again with having a cohort. We are now certifying all of our Head Start teachers to now become a Texas certified teacher. This would allow to really strengthen already the great relationships we have with our public school pre-K teachers to continue to assist in that early childhood readiness, right? That allows our public schools and our Head Start to really collaborate. We do a lot of professional development together. And again, it's just really to strengthen it for them, whether it's our community, whether it's the schools, to really see that the teachers are highly qualified individuals. They've done really great. And I just want to thank you, Dr. Eden, thank you, Ms. Rodriguez, because it has been our pleasure. These teachers are just so wonderful to work with, and we're really excited for them and to allow them to have this opportunity. So, and then of course, our other partnerships are working with all of our LEAs, right? Every district here in the Region 19 area hires from us. They support us. I have them all sitting on our advisory committee. They know the structure of our program. They know the quality of the program, so we have their unending support. So really glad to have been able to be part of establishing those relationships. Our other program that I want to talk to you all about, of course, I mentioned earlier, was our librarian alternative certification. A few years ago, we're getting requests from our LEAs that they were in need of librarians, and those positions are quite often difficult to fill. I'm very proud to say that the Region 19 librarian program is the only alternative certification program in the state of Texas. Otherwise, they would have to go through the traditional route. So this makes us very unique. It makes TEA having all eyes on us, and that's great. I love it because we do have an amazing program. And our teachers, we want to say, we were doing the math earlier, right, Mr. Dunn? And we, gosh, I think that every year more than 50%, close to 75% of my librarians, and I run a cohort by about 15 per year, get hired and are placed. And this is great. We see that at the LEAs, our librarians are no longer just, the librarian at the library reading books to our kiddos. They become media specialists, and they become very involved in the professional development of our teachers and really working in collaboration with the administration on the goals and objectives to help teachers when it comes to test preparation. So a lot of responsibility, and really great that we partnered up. Our facilitator is currently the librarian administrator for the El Paso Independent School District, so we collaborate with them. So they're getting really this, firsthand information and teachings from somebody who's out in the field. And we are also really proud to say that this past year we were able, because we are the only ACP, we were getting requests from individuals in Austin, San Antonio, saying, is it online and can we join your program? So since then, we were able to, it isn't an online program, it is face-to-face, but we have gone to where we're doing distance learning with them. So I'm able to get them on board now and expand our cohorts. And now we are producing librarians, across the state. And so we're really excited about that and knowing that they're getting that preparation from ESC 19.
Very good.
So, yes, very excited. Thank you. So I wanted just to give you a really quick overview on that. I have here with me, very proud and excited to introduce to you my Assistant Director for the Alternative Certification Program here, Mr. Jesse Teran, who is going to speak to you about how he assists me and the program that he oversees. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. It feels good not to have this mask. My name is Jesus Teran, as Ms. Barbara was telling you. And she told me to tell you a little bit about myself, but just real quickly, I was a Head Start student when I was a little kid.
Awesome.
It's grown up now.
Fantastic.
And I've spent 25 years in education, and most of those were in being a principal. And my very first principal that hired me was Dr. Aguirre.
Wow.
And so he was my mentor, and I'm very proud to say that to people. Of course, if I mess up today, thank you very much. I've never publicly thanked you, but to be honest with you, my career in education has gone great because of your advice and guidance. And because of that, I've been able to support my family, and we've had an awesome life. So thank you very much for all the mentoring you did.
Yay.
Now I get to mentor future principals. It's funny how the world turns, right? And where you're placed. But now I get to help people become principals through our program here at Region 19 called Principal Alternative Certification Academy. And like Barbara said, it is an academy. It's a little mini university because our people come in and our goal is to give them just the best top quality program, but realistic as well. Because we only have 12 months to get them prepared to become principals. And when they're done with us, when they're successful with us, they're able to become certified principals at any school in Texas and at any level. So even if they were high school teachers, they're able to be principals in the elementary school and vice versa. So we have a lot of responsibility as Region 19 just to make sure that our leaders, our future leaders are prepared. And so that's what we intend to do. The way we do it is we put systems in place, and we have many systems in place, probably too many to name. But one of them is we create this network of contacts. So when our interns come in, our candidates, they come in as experts in something. Like last year, I had an expert in special ed. She was a professor at UTIP and a professor at Saul Ross, but she was one of our students. But she just happened to know more special ed information than even the teacher, which was me, right? But we learned from her, and everybody learns from each other. She'll learn from somebody who's a fine arts specialist or a science specialist. And so that's how we start getting this, just a network of contacts. It includes their mentors and the people at the school that help them, just like Dr. Aguirre helped me as I was becoming an administrator. The other thing is they're all required to have a master's degree. They're all required to have a 3.0 GPA, and they're required to have at least 3 years of teaching experience. A lot of them get the certificate until they get more experience and then become principals. And some of them become principals immediately as soon as they're done with us. It costs $5,500 to be a part of our group. But I always tell our candidates that's a great investment because they're coming in, average salary is about $55,000. They get our certificate and now they can make $75,000. It's a great investment. So that's what's going on with our PACA Academy. That's what we call it. That's the name that everybody knows us by now. So we have a lot of support in all of our programs, just like Ms. Amaya was saying. Our support it starts off with our staff there at the ACP department. I mean, our facilitators are experts at what they're teaching. But just like Ms. Barbara was saying, we have our professional consultants from the other departments that come and present. And so we give our future educators just like the top of the line, everything that's coming out of TEA immediately, they're getting that, so they're ready to hit the ground running once they start teaching. We also have, of course, a mentorship program. Every single candidate has a mentor, and also we have field observers, yes. And our field observers go out there. We don't just, send them to the campus and then they're on their own. We make sure we look at them 6 times throughout their internship just to make sure they're developing correctly. And if they're not, we're there to support them in any way that we need to support them. Again, it's all just to make them the best possible candidates that we can create there. We, just like every other learning institution, we have to go through an accreditation. And our accreditation goes through TEA. So we have to submit all our reports and all our data to TEA. September 15th for us is very hectic because we have to make sure we crossed our T's and dotted our I's and that all our information is good because they are going to look at that information, all of our finishers, all of our candidates, to make sure that we're doing a good job with our students. In November, they look at our exams. We have this goal of you take the exam one time and you pass it on the first time. It's kind of like, I used to be a Marine and it was a one shot, one kill. You know, remember that mentality? I promise we don't kill people. What I'm trying to say is just that one test, pass it, and then we're done. That's the goal. And then in a couple of days from now, we actually have to turn in Title II information, which is federal information, to the U.S. Department of Education. So all of that put together, that's how they come up with our accreditation status. So just some key features is that we personalize our programs to meet the needs of our candidates. That's what sets us apart from anybody else. I mean, we can tailor our instruction because we have that much support and we put those systems in place for them. The other thing is, we're proud to say that a bunch of many of our candidates have gone on to do some great things. Teacher of the Year, instructional leaders, principals, directors. I mean, they're out there leading our community right now. And which brings us to the point of our mission, Region 19, is to make sure we educate all of the Region 19 students. So our part in that is to make sure that our educators are ready to do that.
Like that.
So we're on social media. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And it's just a way to let the community see the exciting things that we're doing. So we can always be followed there. And if you have any questions for us, we're ready to answer them. Thank you for letting me be here and share.
Well, we
Thank you.
appreciate you
Thank you.
very much. Very awesome.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How long is the program for principals
For principals, it's 12 months,
and teachers?
12 to 18 months, depending on their path.
And it's part-time? Are they working while they're doing this?
Every single candidate is working a full-time job, so that's why we have to tailor that instruction.
Thank you.
Sure.
If I may, just so you all, just to clarify, yes, they are working. And what we do is, right now during COVID, we're turning it around, virtually, but still we do it to where our classes are done on Saturdays or during the week, we do it in the evenings. We had to make sure that we wanted to work because it is an accelerated program. And we knew these were individuals who are currently working, that we work around that and support them in that. So our librarian program and our teacher prep program are done on Saturdays or during the week in the evenings. And our principal program is an online program, but it's a hybrid because we do meet face-to-face at the beginning and end of every module. And those will be done here at the Service Center on the weekends. So we spend quite a bit of time here.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? We truly appreciate the energy you all bring to the positions that you hold. I think he's going to give you your $5 afterwards. We really, it appears to me that if I were a candidate to be a principal, I'd want to sit in on your class because a part of it is, of course, being a good presenter and keeping people's attention. And so
He does it very well.
making people smile once in a while is not a bad thing. And certainly the knowledge behind the program, in terms of the director is
Yes, sir.
awesome. And we appreciate you very much. It's an outstanding program. My daughter had one of the students from Region 19 in her class. She teaches biology. And with COVID, my daughter was strong point was not technology, but this individual was very strong in technology. And actually, it was quite a symbiotic relationship. They really blessed each other. And my
Yes.
daughter was so glad and so happy to have that student in her classroom. And so it is an outstanding program.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. And with the continued support we have at the Service Center, because we have Ms. Angiato and the technology department, we were able to get her support so we can not only offer our classes virtually, but then we were modeling what needed to happen. So our individuals are going to the program and we were showing them what they needed to do, right? As we were doing these classes, it was just, you will turn this around exactly how we're doing this. We wanted to make sure that the platforms that we were using were ones that they can relate to at the districts as well. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
And we're really excited that we were able to take this opportunity to do that. So thank you all for your time. We
Thank
really
you.
We
it.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Sanchez, sure. There's one more question. One more question.
Just a comment, I never knew that we had this program for the librarians either, and I hate to say it, but when back then and when I was a board member in another place, I always thought of Region 19 that they fix computers. That's all they do over there. But hearing all these presentations every month, different presentations, it's amazing. And we find out new stuff that our staff is actually doing, which is benefiting our children.
Yes, sir.
But I never knew that a librarian was coming through here for their certification and that we're the only ones in the state of
Yes, sir.
Texas doing that.
Yes,
So
sir.
congratulations on that and keep up the good work.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
I have several friends that grew up to be librarians, but they all had to go out of town
Yes.
to get that.
That is true. I mean, they would have to go right now. Yeah, we've done our research and the homework, and they would have to go the traditional route. And so, we were questioned. We were interviewed a lot from TEA when we submitted this, but with the support from our superintendents in the need, we didn't have a lot of individuals graduating from here for me to offer to when they were calling and saying they needed a teacher. I said, there is a void out here in El Paso. I said, so if I can do this, why wouldn't you grant us this opportunity? So they did, and we did. We've got our facilitator and we run our cohorts, and they've been very successful. Some of our teachers that are going through the program are ones that said, when I'm ready for my next phase, that's what I want to do. But here in the immediate, they've all turned around and are hired. And again, for those needs that I said earlier, they're media specialists now, that's part of our curriculum. They're working with the administration and helping with the development that is needed to support teachers, especially when talking accountability. So their span of work has changed a lot, and we bring it to that level. And so, yes, now you all have a librarian program as well, and one that we share across the state.
Very good.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a
Comment.
couple quick comments. First of all, Barbara, thank you so much for what you do and coming today and sharing and bringing this great information to the board.
Thank you.
We are fortunate in the sense that our individuals that go through our programs are hired and are sought after, and because they do fill a void, but more importantly, they bring the level of education up a notch. And so thank you guys for what you guys are doing, and fantastic. And as for Mr. Terán, yes, I've known him for many years, but like I've always said, people that have come work here that I've known in the past, I didn't bring them because they were great people. I brought them because they bring a value to the organization. So you bring value, and so thank you for joining us and being part of our team.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Bob.
you. That moves us to our next item under the Executive Director's Report, a school districts update.
Yes, sir. I believe it was Mr. Limon who asked for some information regarding schools, but since it is a report, if I could digress a little bit and just say a couple of things. I'm sure you've noticed that none of us are wearing our mask up here. Through CDC rules, we all have been vaccinated, as far as I know anyway, and because of that, we're comfortable in doing this. But when we are out there with you all, we will, as everyone else, wear the mask as well. So know that. Okay, so we're still trying to follow the rules as prescribed, and we'll be doing that. And on another quick note, because I would hate to not take an opportunity to recognize our newest member to the administrative team, albeit a veteran member of our service center, but Ms. Rosa Martinez. So Ms. Rosa Martinez comes from our Head Start side of the house, and she was working in the Human Resource Department with David Valle. And so she went through the process, definitely did a great job in her quest to get the position, and we're excited and we're happy for her, but we're happy for ourselves as well. So again, welcome, and I'm sure you'll have many a conversation with these individuals and the others that are not present, but we look forward to building those relationships. So,
Congratulations. Congratulations.
So going back to the point that I was making earlier with the request that Mr. Limon made in regards to the students and the number of students that we've lost over the year because of the pandemic. So I went back and with the help of Ms. Angie Otto, we were able to crunch the numbers. And in essence, every district lost students. and this is the important part, to include, because this is where the misnomer comes in, to include charter schools. Okay, so it's not like we had this mass exodus from public to charter. Now, if you compare percentages, yes, it was larger for public, but then you have to consider there are more public students. And so it just kind of worked out. And I need to make that clear. Charter students are public students as well. But if we're referring to charter versus conventional and or comprehensive ISDs, then you're talking about 90% of students are here, 10% of the students are here, or actually less than that. So with that said, the larger number comes from here, but everyone actually lost students. Now, having said that, we are talking about, and looking at the numbers, we're talking about 5,000 to 6,000 students less than we had last year as a whole. And so the question still stands, where did these students go? And what's happened in conversing with the superintendents, what's happened is a lot of these students just have decided not to come back. Now, parents have taken interesting stance. And this isn't, I don't want to just have a general statement and say that everyone did this, but there are various rationales. Some actually just decided to homeschool or say, well, they're not going to be going to school for now. They're going to stay home. Is that a good thing? Of course, from an educator standpoint, I would say not. So from our end, now our next task is to get these students back into the classroom. And so all schools, and that is our conversation, and it will be this coming Wednesday when we have our next RAC meeting, is to start talking about what is it going to look like to start getting these students and parents to understand that educating the children within our schools is critical. And so that's where we're at now. But I just wanted to kind of share that little bit of background because it was a good question. You know, what's happened to these students? For the most part, they've stayed back and they've stayed home. And so until we could get them back into the classroom, will we know how far behind they are.
Thank you. You know, one thing I've noticed just driving around the neighborhood, I live close to Eastwood High School, Heggs High School, and Eastwood Heights and Eastwood Knolls. The elementary schools apparently have much more students in the classroom. The high schools, not so much.
And there's actually a good reason for that. Elementary school, when this all took place, the state leaned more on the elementaries to bring the students back. And so the districts, like everyone else throughout, took that heeded that advice and did that and asked for students to come back. The high schools, they pretty much were talking about it being a virtual setting and to keep it that way. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I mean, I think every individual is different, and definitely many an individual, and referring to students, would benefit from being in an actual classroom. And so the intent now is to increase those numbers, but it's difficult to do it mid-semester. And so they're holding on tightly. Now, next year, when the new school year starts, the intent is to bring everyone back. Now, I say that with a few disclaimers. We also realize, and we had this conversation last week, that many a student and parents have, for whatever reason, have enjoyed this idea of keeping students home. And so districts are now, and we're all in that process now, is looking at what is that going to look like and whether or not the ADA that districts lose would still be done if a district were to have both platforms. And that becomes a bigger question. And so we had that conversation. Some are actually applying for grants that the state is giving. The tricky part is that these grants are few and far between. So albeit a handful of our districts are going to apply for it, it'll be interesting to see how many actually get it. The bigger question is whether or not a district can do it, even if they don't get the grant. And as long as they give them the ADA, but no one knows that answer, not even the commissioner, because the legislators are in session now. And so that's that's I was gonna say the $1 million question, is probably the multi-million dollar question.
Billion dollar question.
Yeah.
So assuming they realize the value and the need, hopefully they'll keep all districts in mind and give them that flexibility to be able to run a hybrid setting to where they can help those who want to continue. And also it would be great if there was an opportunity for us to have some teeth in it. By that, I mean where we could conceivably, and I say we as the service center, as a region, not a service center, but as a region, that we could actually have students understand that they're not doing well at home, those who aren't, and so that they need to come back. In other words, make it almost like a privilege to stay home if that's not what they're needing and they're not producing, that they have to come back to the campus. And that's, of course, that's pie in the sky as far as I'm concerned, but that would be nice if the legislators, and we've shared this with our local representatives and told them what we feel. We had a meeting with them at one of our, and by the way, we've had weekly meetings now with the RAC, and so with the superintendents, it's worked out nicely. And one of them was with our legislative representatives, and we told them this is key, that if you guys could go back and somehow let them know that, you know, yes, we're fine with doing both, but you need to fund it. 1, 2, if we're going to do that, then let us handle a situation where if a student can't handle being virtual, that we're able to say, no, you need to come back. Because if in fact we're trying to educate, then we need to have all the resources and the opportunities in our side to help them. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Are there any discussions about extending the school year, like what I've seen in Las Cruces?
Actually not extend the school year, but we're talking, and these are, you know, our directors and our professional development consultants can tell you, the latest and the greatest word is accelerate. Okay, so the intent is to accelerate the learning process, not necessarily just remediate. So what they're thinking is if we could take, let's say, for instance, a fifth grader who is struggling to get through the material, instead of going back and reteaching all of fifth grade, is to look at sixth grade and start looking at the concepts they need there and what do they need from fifth to feel those concepts so that they can start getting ahead instead of falling further back by repeating what they didn't learn the first time. So it's an interesting, I mean, it's nothing new. All of us have been educators, have seen that. We've approached it that way, going back to when you look at when we have intersessions. And that's the intent of an intersession, not to remediate, but to accelerate. And so it's a process that's always been there. Now the state is kind of embracing it, which that means gives us an opportunity then to be creative. And so those are conversations we're having with the directors as to what would that look like if we were to be called on by the districts to help them accelerate the learning with their students. So.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Do you have anyone else join us?
Yes, sir. We do have a new participant. I believe it's Ms. Elises.
Okay.
It's not clear from the name that they used. The name that they used is Hospitals.
Providence.
Hospitals at Providence.
Okay, likely, Ms. Elises.
Maybe she can hear
But
us. Ask her.
yes, because when we get to vote, we'll have to ask, would you mind getting?
You can ask her.
Ms. Elises, are you present?
Yes, I am present.
Thank you, welcome. Appreciate you. So we're on item 4. We just completed our school districts update. And the third bullet is ESC 19 construction.
I'd like to ask Mr. John Arcon to share some insight.
Welcome, everybody. Chairman Zablosky, Dr. Guida, members of the board. I'll start off with the Nature Museum update. This project is moving along really well. Jose, could you make that just a little bigger? A little bit more if you could. Thank you.
Yes.
So currently, our contractor, ACO, is working on the parking lot and the private road access. The grading, and I think a few of you may have been by there, you can see that the grading and density testing is already, is well underway. They're actually going to be pouring some concrete sidewalks tomorrow. ACO is 95% on the interior water lines. They're 95% on the interior gas lines. Electrical conduit is at 95%. Sheet rocking is about 75%. The exterior wall installation is about 65%. Fire line installation is complete. The roof decking installation is at 75%. So you'll see in the photos that I'm going to show you in just a little bit, things have really progressed since last month. Loyal, Wilkie, and Region 19 have completed the tie-in with One Gas, Texas Gas Services. We are in progress right now with El Paso Electric, so new poles are up, transformers in, and we're working on the tie-in for the new service. Region 19 continues to work with Exhibit Concepts, working on audio visuals, narratives for each of the exhibit areas, and ACO construction timeline remains at the end of May. Can you get the next slide, Jose? There we go. I want to start off again with the rendering of what that front entrance is going to look like. This is where we were at last month. This is what I presented. This is where we're at as of just a couple of days ago. So you can really see how it's starting to take shape according to the rendering. Things are really moving along. Just another close-up view of that entrance. This is the back area, so you can see all the walls are up. They're starting to prepare the walls for the EFS. The interior, this is the interior rendering. What you saw last month was a lot of framing going in, a lot of conduit was in process. This is the main entrance, the Country Theater. And you can see here, all the sheetrocking is up. We're doing taping and bedding right now. So what that means is that actually the electrical has passed inspection. Any plumbing in the walls has passed inspection. This is the on a train, and you can see that that's already framed. All our low voltage wiring and electrical has passed inspection, and now we're closing up the walls. He's a member of the alumni. This is the container for the Trigomatic. All the wiring has been put in. They're starting the insulation, and that'll be closing up probably the next week. The main office, we've got all our ductwork in. Tape and bedding has already happened, so that area should start to clean up. This is actually one of the container fronts, so it's going to have a real nice glass enclosure right in one of the container doors. This is the Prelude area, our exterior exhibit area. Again, that was last month. We're already insulating. All inspections have passed. We've got all the ductwork in for the restrooms. This is one of the storage containers in that Prelude area. They're already starting to put the sheetrock, and you can see we've got a split unit in there as well. And that's it for the Natureseum. Things are really progressing well. Contractor and architect are doing a great job. And I think you wanted to touch on the funding, right?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Mr. Sablaski, members of the board, Dr. Aguirre. I'm so excited to share with you all that the Office of Head Start approved our duration budget revision and our 2021 budget revision. So the $800,000 that was pending for all the instructional piece has been approved. We're really excited right now because we're working on purchase requisitions for the audiovisual and for all the instructional pieces that Exhibit Concept is going to build for us for our Natureseum. So everything is falling into place, and I thank John for the opportunity to share this good news with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is great news.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez, because it really is falling right into place, right as we're gonna finish the building in May. Exhibit Concepts is gonna be ready. They have actually got a trip scheduled in May to bring down some of the exhibits, and it's just gonna flow really well. So we're excited about that. I'm gonna continue with this presentation, and I'll move on to the conference center update. And we had a great bean topping event earlier, which was really exciting. So I probably don't even need to go through these because you've already seen it. But I'll give you a quick update here. Cambro is working on Sequence 17. That's the cement on the 5th floor. That's going to be our 6th floor concrete floor, right on the decking. So there's 3 sequences involved in that. And Sequence 17 will start next week. It's tentative for next week. Barrier installation is continuing on the 4th floor. They'll continue to go up. Garrick is working on the electrical rough-in of floors 1 through 4. And if you go through there again, you continue to see the lights, the additional conduit going up. Plumbing also for the 3rd and 4th floor. That's everything from our roof drains to any other plumbing that's required. Alliance is the structural steel contractor. They're doing all the framing on the high-low roof and the 6th floor deck installation as well. Diversified is working on the framing for the elevator shafts and the staircases. Exterior walls are tentative to start next week. So that's going to be exciting. You're going to start to see things starting to really close up on the building. And if you look right out this window, you can see the shaft for this, the framing for this stairwell happening right outside. Inspections continue. On 4/15, we had Mijares Mora do a field report number 37. Again, no deficiencies that we needed to record. City inspections and Pavetex continue to do their inspections. Right now, they're primarily focused on the steel welds. Utility applications, we're only waiting on El Paso Electric. They've got us scheduled in, so it's going to be 3 phases of work for them, and we don't anticipate any issues. ESC 19 marketing team. So we have been working with National Restaurant Supply for the equipment for the kitchen. We're still working on final pricing. The build out ended up, which we talked about last month, came in under what we had talked about. Came in at $540,000. Again, this is all under the contingency funds. Furniture spacing and layout, we are continuing to work with a furniture vendor on this. As soon as we have some information, we'll make sure to bring it to you. Mrs. Aggiato and her team are working on the AV system and technology via lease. And as I mentioned, kitchen equipment and supplies. And when I talk about supplies, I'm talking about the pots and pans and things that we call furniture fixture equipment. We remain on our timeline for October 29th to turn over the building. This is what we presented last month, the overview. This is where we're at today, and it does look a lot different, but you can see that this is all the metal decking in this picture here. So that is our 6th floor going right in. Again, this is another view. You can see where we were doing that beam topper event down where those vehicles are. And the framing is actually already, the decking is already at that point on that side. This is just a view from the access road right between building A and B. You can see the bollards are all going into place on the 1st floor. They continue to work on the kitchen. You can see all the overhead electrical conduit going into place. This is what we approved for them to do the build out. So that's going to really change quickly. You can see that blue, that's the elevator, I'm sorry. the elevator walls going into place. This is what we looked at last month as we were approaching the 5th floor parking garage and the structural steel. This is what we're looking at now. You can see that everything's been topped off. It's looking really good. Again, this is right under that 6th floor, 5th floor parking area. And this is just a view looking north. I threw that in there because there was an airplane passing by. So, when you're up there,
Yes.
it's just constantly happening. You see the jets, you see the bigger
awesome.
planes, the smaller planes.
It's gonna be fun.
It's amazing, the view that we're gonna have.
It sure is.
And this is our night rendering of keeping our eye on the prize.
Yes.
And I'll answer any questions you all might have.
Any questions? It's certainly very impressive. I was commenting earlier to some of the employees that to them it probably seems slow. Some of us, I think Mr. Elder said, wow, because he'd been attending the meetings virtually. And so for him, it was very impressive. And to all of us who have been coming, it's certainly moving quite fast. It's a very impressive building at the event, mingling with employees. And the other day that we did the tour, you could tell that BTC is very proud of the work that they do. Dr. Aguirre mentioned in his comments of the proximity to the airport and how obviously it needs to be something that everyone in this region can be very proud of, and indeed it's taking that shape.
Yes, sir.
We thank you for your eyes and your knowledge and your expertise as you help us to audit all that's going on, to keep our, as you said, the eyes on the prize.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
The explosion coming up the airway. It's just boom. And when the first night, it's going to blow the socks off.
When the lights go on.
When the lights go on.
All right, so any comments?
Just again, thank you, John, for organizing it. And I know that there's many a person behind you doing great things. And so all those involved in the whole process, thank you for what you're doing. And we'll definitely celebrate when it's up. And so that'll be an event in itself.
So with that, we'll move to item 5, which are executive director's announcements and information on the separate cover on the blue sheet in your folders. You'll find.
So there's a couple of announcements. We have the Far West Texas School Board Association TASB Spring Workshop that will be taking place May 19th, and that will be a virtual training. So just want to make sure everyone's aware of that if you're interested in participating.
And I don't know if I'm interested, so that you all can take note. I don't know if anyone else is. If you are, please.
Do we already have a time?
I don't know. Let me see if do we have a time, Araceli?
I can get that for you.
Okay, fantastic. I'll send that out to you and let you know. But we do have the date. May 19th.
It's generally in the evening, because so that board members who are employed can certainly make time to attend. So generally it will be in the evening. I'm not certain if positive 100% on that, but that's generally how we was done in the
Right,
past.
and that's the reason I was asking, because I did see that it says virtual, so I was wondering if the time was going to be different as well.
Well, again, because folks have different work environments in terms of board members. If they're, out in the field and can't really access virtually. I don't know, to be honest with you, but.
It's from 5 to 8:30 in the evening.
5 to 8:30.
Thank you.
What day of the week is that?
I'm interested in.
It's a Wednesday.
Are they gonna serve virtual steaks this time?
No. Then I'm not interested.
The Advocacy Institute has a virtual luncheon. Did you hear that? Did you see that? Yeah, yeah.
I'm still stuck on the virtual steaks. So I believe it's all you can eat.
Oh, okay, I mean,
Virtually, obviously, but. BYOS.
virtual Texas.
Okay, so anyway, I don't know if you had a chance to make note of everyone who raised their hand. I don't know if Melodia is interested.
I would have to know the time, but I would be interested.
5 to 8:30, you said?
5 to 8:30, it's a Wednesday. That's what my understanding, May the 19th.
Yes, it is a Wednesday.
Anyway, if you'll call in later, or anybody else who wants to attend, but you've taken note of who raised their hand, right?
Yes, I have yourself, Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Limon, and Ms. Coqueta.
Okay, thank you very much. And of course, you'll be sending us out more information and make sure we're ready for that. And then, sir, the next one.
And Uber Eats.
Bring the dinner.
Tofu steak, is there such a thing?
Oh, there you go.
All right, so moving right along. So we have the National School Board Association Advocacy Institute, and that too will be online. And that'll be June 8th through the 10th. And so those of you who haven't signed up, there's an opportunity. If you'll let us know as well, and we'll make sure and do that.
Anyone interested? I know I'm signed up already, and I think.
I think I am too.
And interestingly, there will be, for just general information, the Advocacy Institute is pretty much a couple of days of workshop, and then a third day would be what they call a day on the Hill, where we would go and meet with the Congress, people in Congress from here. For example, here is the 16th, where we are in El Paso, but Horizon Boulevard is east is the 23rd congressional district. So we meet with two of our members of Congress, and then also we would meet with the senators from Texas regarding, obviously issues of impacting public education. So this event, we're gonna, of course, we'll have to find out how we're gonna do this virtual visits to Capitol Hill. So more often, or often when we would go in the past, we would go as a group to meet with our representatives, and then the senators. It was more of a room like this where it would be a large group of folks from across the country. So going to be interesting. How I guess it might be a Zoom meeting with the representative and or their legislative aides.
Yeah. Well, those are the two announcements. And so,
okay,
we look forward.
Any other questions, Dr. Aguirre? Then we move to item 6, which is our Head Start Policy Council meetings, which you find on page 59. Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you once again, Chairman, Mr. Sobolowski, Dr. Aguirre, members of the board. Our next policy council meeting, that again, you are all welcome, to attend, will be next Tuesday, April the 27th, and we will start at 4 p.m. And again, these are being held virtually. And then the next meeting would be on May the 24th, also at 4 p.m. We don't have a meeting in June, but we will have a meeting on the 27th of July. Again, you're all welcome to attend. Thank you so much. For those of you that are able to and join us, such as Ms. Copete, who joined us last month, and Mr. Limon and Mr. Fred Sanchez. Thank you for
I was going to just point out that May the 24th is a Monday. It's listed as a Monday. So
yes, sir.
So it just changes that date.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Because everyone's used to that.
Thank
Used
you
to Tuesday.
for pointing that out. Yes, sir.
Okay, that moves. Any questions? There being none, we move to item 7, which is our Head Start Director's Report, beginning on page 60.
So as mandated by performance standards, we are to provide you a director's report on a monthly basis. And so this director's report, I'd like to share with you that we are on our 10th month of operation, our second year grant. In regards to our funding for this school year, we haven't had any change. In regards to the service areas and the populations that we continue to serve, of course, as you know, we are funded to serve 4,375 children that are 3,983 of them preschool age children, ages 3 to 4, and 392 infants and toddlers. We continue to operate our 31 child development centers by providing grab-and-go meals, instructional packets to our families, and providing virtual instruction, as well as distributing curbside home delivery meals to those families that do not have transportation. In regards to our, on page 62, you will find the program data that also must be provided to you on a monthly basis is our monthly financial reports. And this afternoon, Ms. Sonia Eubank will present that to you. She will also highlight any type of credit card expenditures that were made for Head Start or Early Head Start. In regards to our monthly informational summaries, of course, you're going to find those under Appendix A of this report. And of course, these are going to reflect all the different program activities for the 24 service areas that provide services to children and families and staff within our Head Start program. In addition to that, you will also find enrollment and attendance data that must be presented to you also on a monthly basis, and that you will find under Appendix B of this report. And as you will see under Early Head Start, our enrollment for the second month, I believe in a row, we are at full enrollment, 392, no slots available, and our virtual attendance was at 99%.
Awesome.
For Head Start enrollment, it keeps growing. We provided services to 2,855 families in the month of March, indicating that we still have 1,128 slots available for families that are interested, and our virtual attendance was at 97% for our preschoolers. Under monthly meals that we should also present to you on a monthly basis, we provided grab-and-go meals for Early Head Start families to a tune of 3,990 meals, which, as you know, include breakfast, lunch, and snack. And then for Head Start, we distributed 20,438 meals that were served to our families. We're going to be showcasing our kitchen staff in a video that has been provided. And I was just amazed to see all the work, all the extra touch and love that goes into their food preparation. Just by watching the video, I learned so much, and just like, I guess any other individual, just my heart was just so filled with joy to see them just working and packing the food and dicing the cantaloupes and, just doing it with such joy. And then our transportation team delivering it to the door, so it's just amazing. So
Excuse me, how long is that video?
That video is about maybe it's gonna be about maybe 2 to 3 minutes.
To bring it.
Maybe you could bring it to us for next.
Absolutely.
That would be
Yes.
awesome. That would be awesome.
Yes, I would love to bring it to you
Thank
and
you.
showcase our kitchen staff,
Yes.
transportation, bus drivers and bus monitors in
Yes.
action.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Haley. That's a great idea. And then in regards to any informational items that need to be presented to you, I wanted to share with you that we did receive the second COVID funding, CARES funding, and it was appropriated by the enrollment that we currently have. So it was about $1.5 million that we received under COVID. And it did not require board or policy council approval. It also does not require a non-federal share match. So we did not have to worry about that. I just had to go into the Head Start enterprise and appropriate that funding into the different federal categories, which the majority was under supplies and the other went into other category, okay, for services. But we still have not received official notice that it's, no, right, Ms. Rebecca, it's not in the can yet, right?
No.
Alrighty, and then number 2 is on page 62 of this report. I want to tell you that last month was a pretty busy month for us. And we were able to upload, submit our year 3 continuation application. We were able to submit the 2021 budget revision. We were able to submit the 2019 duration revision. And then on top of that, the cost of living adjustment application, all in the month of March. So very proud of the team, the directors that I closely work with, Mr. Alarcon, David Reyes, Ramona Hoffman, Dr. Martinez, who just played a very important part on the development of these applications that we submitted. And of course, they, along with myself, work with their respective program managers to develop these applications. So what I want to share with you is I shared the good news already with you that OHS funded and approved the duration and the 2021 budget revision that is going to help us purchase 18 school buses, some cargo vans for our facilities team, a dump truck, a bobcat, a pallet jacks for the distribution centers, some new box trucks for the distribution center. And these are vehicles that have been part of our fleet that are, I can't say they're older. Well, I think I'm older than they are. So it wouldn't work. But they needed to be replaced.
They're pretty old.
Attest to that. It was costing us more money to get them running, right? So in regards to cost efficiency, it's better that we're getting these new vehicles. And that all fell under duration funding. The majority of that piece fell under equipment for all these vehicles that are going to be purchased. And then, of course, the 2021 revision is going to help us to ensure that our Natureseum has the funding necessary for us to open up. And, you know, I must say this, Dr. Aguirre, you always, you know, when we get a little bit nervous, you're always so cool and calm, and you say, you know, everything will work out. And Dr. Aguirre, everything worked out. Like you said, it would. Everything worked out. So anyways, number 3 on this report is we successfully also implemented our virtual program self-assessment that was vital for our program and part of our year 3 application. Overall, and I will be presenting this later on for you all to see, is it was an overall 99% compliance for our program, and we did have 2 areas that need improvement within the organization. So that does conclude the director's report. I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have for me.
Any questions regarding the Head Start report?
Just a quick comment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for your work on all of the paperwork that goes into getting these grants in place, and being able to find the funding. That's fantastic. So good work.
Another home run.
I want you all to remember all these home runs in case we ever have a foul ball.
That's how I take.
You mean you're not perfect? You mean you all aren't perfect? Oh, no. Here all these years, we thought you all were exactly 100% perfect. We truly appreciate all the fine work that certainly Head Start in that report, but all of the staff. I mean, one of the things that we always comment on is that as a board, that this board, I've served on other boards, many of us have served on lots of other different boards, but this board is a pleasure to serve on. I would say, especially now, so many awesome things that are going on, impacting kids directly through educating teachers and principals and librarians, and always Head Start is always working diligently, certainly in career technology education, you name it, and we're moving along And so we really appreciate everybody's fine work. One of the most important things that really impresses the board, if I may speak for the board on behalf of the board, is the collaboration that we, the early childhood educators are being certified in-house by programs that are recognized across the state. So we're doing some awesome and wonderful things. Obviously, behind the scenes, we always have, somebody who's watching every cent. I know sometimes a penny turns into a nickel, and it's magic, it's just a wonderful thing. And of course, our human resources department, but just everyone. One of the things that Dr. Aguirre asked to bring for that video, because when we look at our facilities, you compare our facilities to anybody, and they're just impeccable. Our staff, always tending to, if there's a light bulb out, it's replaced. In fact, there's probably schedules for replacement, because I look for lights and they're always on. So that's part of my inspection background. but nonetheless, it's just a wonderful thing. Certainly, all of the reports today, and really all the time that we come. In particular finance, obviously everything has to be paid for. When we look at the buses and all of that, well, there was a time when we would send money back, and Eubank and her staff and collectively with Head Start, put it back in a manner in which it benefits children. And I always enjoy Head Start because it's children and families. We love to see it as a program for our nation, in fact, in elementary schools. But anyway, I got on the soapbox there. My apologies for that.
Go on, please. We like it.
More.
But thank you for your time.
Mr. Zablosky, I would also like to congratulate you on the attendance, and this is virtual attendance, and I don't know how this even compares with the virtual attendance with the ISDs, but just from my own personal experience with my own kids, I just want to say that the attendance numbers are impressive to me. I'm not sure how we compare to ISDs, but
The whole thing is impressive.
yeah.
Yeah, just phenomenal.
I would so very much invite you to go on our website and watch some of our teen fathers reading stories, singing to their babies, to their infants. It's just amazing to watch, and again, we continue to and reiterate to them that they are their child's first teacher, and they're really living up to that role.
Thank you.
Well, thank you once again, and we'll move on to item 8, which is salary equity adjustments on page 68 and 69. Ms. Eubank.
We have listed 2 employees that we recommended equity. We did have some retirements, and so what we do is immediately find who can fill those positions, and we try through our attrition to save some funds for now and see how that works out before hiring anybody else. So this is our goal, and so this is what we're bringing to our board.
And we'll move these, we'll have further discussion of these two positions in closed session. So we'll have that as information for the moment. And we move then on to our finance report on page 9. I'm sorry, page 70, item 9, page 70 through 83.
Yes, page 71. Good afternoon, members of the board. On page 71, you will find the ESC's operating budget for 7 months into the fiscal year, 5 months remaining. So this is reported through March 31st. As we look at this report, the first column that's not highlighted is our analyzed budget. It says total current budget for the year. And then the next column, actual amounts. So when we look at actual amounts, total revenues collected is approximately close to 6.1 million. When you look at the next column where it says total year-to-date budget, that represents 7/12 of our budget. So that gives you a better idea as to when you compare your actuals to 7 months of the budget, where you really stand. So when you look at the variance column, you'll see that for local and state, we're showing a positive variance. Let me get this go. We have a positive variance for our local revenue compared to 7 months of budget of $122,000. When you compare our state, we are ahead close to $12,000. When you look at our federal, which is our indirect for managing all federal grants, when you compare it to what the budget should be, we are falling a little short based on projections by about $24,000. But when you look at the total revenues highlighted as an overall, compared to budget, we're $110,000 ahead, meaning a positive variance. For total expenditures, all of our variance columns in all categories, payroll, contracted service, supplies, and other, they're all positive, which means that we have been operating at less than projected in all our categories. So we have 5 million in actual expenditures when compared to budget historical, because when we build this budget, we look at historical data of how much we've expended. And so we should be at about 6 million. And so we are ahead of budget by $1 million. We've expended $1 million less than where we should be. Of course, all this is because we're working from home remotely and there's no travel. And so that's the gain for the organization. So it's a positive thing thus far. And because we do continue to have the support of our districts, because they continue to believe in us and they continue paying for our services. For net change in fund balance operations, we are $1 million net income, as you would know it in the private sector. This is before construction costs that we committed for. Total constructions for the Nature Sim year to date, $860,000. When you look at the highlighted page, net change in fund balance after constructions, our net is $208,000 through March, increasing fund balance to 9.1 million for our general fund. So we're still in good standing, even though we are investing in some capital projects, and so we still have a negative. And so far, we haven't had to tap into fund balance as the board had already approved for Nature Sim. The next report is a report that we bring because TA requires that we report based on a function level. And so I include this report so that it's recorded that we do bring a budget by function. We highlighted function 13, function 41 as our highest cost. When you look at the first, these columns aren't highlighted, but the original budget is the budget that the board approved back in August. Yes. The final, the column that says final, right next to that one, those are the figures after all those amendments that we bring to the board throughout the year. So you'll see that there's some differences. We have to shift expenditures within functions, so we do that. And then we included the construction cost that was not originally budgeted in the original budget, but then it was approved by the board through fund balance commitments. And then you'll see that there's some differences in our local revenue. And that's because some of our staff, some of our departments have other commitments outside of the norm. So they come and bring budget amendments to increase revenue. So our goal is to reach this 4.9 revenue, but historically our average has been 4.6. So our goal target is 4.9. Yes. When you look at that last column, the variance column that is showing like a negative variance in this report, this is when you're comparing 12 months of budget. And the actuals are reflecting seven months. So we still have 5 more months to catch up to these figures. So that's why this is an annualized version of our budget. Okay.
And based on this, we're actually ahead in 2 of the 3 categories, with federal being the only one we're under 25,000.
Yes, so the previous report gives you 7 months worth of budget and gives you a clear picture when you compare apples to apples, because you're looking at 7 months of budget and 7 months of expenditures. Yes. Next report. Our next report is our conference center and parking garage. You've seen this report before. So we have 36.9 million in resources available to us to complete the construction of our conference center and parking garage. Of course, these costs do not include our AV equipment, our kitchen, and our kitchen supplies and our furniture, which are some of the things that John mentioned earlier about that we're working on cost to bring to the board for those items. Total construction cost, 15.7 million. And so we still have 21.2 million to complete our construction. Next report is our fiscal year 2019. This is our duration grant. We did receive the approval for the amendment that Ms. Rodriguez submitted. And this was a quick turnaround by HHS, which is great because they're always providing us with the final in June, and we're calling and calling because we have to obligate the funds. So it's giving us ample time to work together and expedite these purchase orders and obligate them. So the team is already diligently putting those in the system, and we're approving those.
Thank you.
With that said, we have collected 39.4 million. We have expended close to 40, and then there was about $513,000. We still have approximately 5.3 million to obligate, and we have encumbered and entered purchase orders up to 4.2 million that are still outstanding to pay. Next report. Our next report is our fiscal year 21 budget. We have collected 29 million. We have expended 30.8 million, and we are due 1.8 million from HHS. We have encumbered about 6.8 million, and we still have close to 9.6 million to obligate and expend. And so we're working with Head Start so that we can obligate as much as possible by June 30th. Our next report is our governmental funds, which shows us a snap picture of all the funds that our agency receives. This excludes any enterprise funds. It figures information. So total revenues for other funds, this is for other grants, we have collected 4.8. Total expenditures 6.1, and so we are due 1.3 million dollars for our other grants in total. We have subsidized, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the last column that says 11 million that we've subsidized, and that's because we have our construction money in a separate column. So for grants, we've subsidized for Head Start and for other grants, we have subsidized approximately 3.6 million of our fund balance. And those are funds that we got reimbursed this month in April because we immediately turn around and request those funds. Total fund balance as an organization, we have, it's the last column, the bottom number is close to $16 million in total fund balance.
Awesome.
Next report. Our next report is our proprietary funds, which are our business type activities for operating revenues for our co-op and for our school zone, $2.3 million. Expenditures close to 570,000. We have a net income of $1.6 million, increasing our overall fund balance for enterprise funds to close to $4 million. For our internal service funds, we have operating revenues of 997, expenditures 944, with a net income of 52,000, increasing our fund balance to 2.7. And I want to point out, if you see that fund balance, how good it looks, well, we're going to need some of that to purchase some of those other incidentals that we need to complete our conference center, which is a great thing.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. And then following, you have other schedules that just kind of itemize the summary. This report is a summary, and then following, you have an itemized report, including credit card activity for Head Start. And this concludes the finance report.
Any comments, questions from the board? Wow, John Elder, as usual.
As you, same old wow.
Same report. Anything else? Again, thank you so very much for
Thank you.
for all you do.
Thank you, sir.
You and
Looking
your
solid.
team. So it brings us to item I, our action items. We have consideration and a possible approval for ESC 19, ESC Region 19 to delete inventory costing 5,000 or greater as scrap on pages 85 through 88.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? There being none, I'm going to poll the board once again for your vote. Fred Sanchez,
Aye.
John Elder,
All right.
Jose Limon,
Aye.
Melodia Salaices.
She made a call. I don't know if she's still.
Is she there?
Aye.
Thank you. And Blanca Topete,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well, so it's unanimous. We go to item 12, consideration and possible approval for Education Service Center Region 19 to enter into a lease agreement for technology equipment contingent upon Form 1295 approval on pages 89 through 93. I'm frozen.
I'll make a motion to approve with a question.
Mr. Sanchez has a question before we accept the motion.
Okay. This was brought to us on our January 21st board meeting. Why is it back up again on, maybe because it's an action item?
This is a separate lease.
Okay,
This is for the AV and technology equipment for our conference center. We actually want to place the order now so that the equipment will come in by the time that our facility is completed.
okay.
So
But-
this is a separate lease.
We'll see more of this Form 1295.
Well, the Form 1295 is a required form that needs to go in the file, so the vendor needs to ensure they fill that out and submit it before the award can be.
Okay. Okay.
awarded.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Do I hear a motion?
My motion stands to
Motion by
approve.
Mr. Sanchez. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
By John Elder. I'm going to again poll the board for their vote. Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Elder.
Aye.
Mr. Limon.
Aye.
Ms. Salaices.
Aye.
Ms. Topete.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So that's a unanimous vote. We move on to J13, which is our Head Start governance action items. Consideration of possible approval for ESC Region 19 action items for the Head Start program. There are two items that we will be looking at. We'll take them independently, one of another, of the other. The first one is the 2021 program self-assessment results and improvement plan. Mrs.
Yes, sir.
Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Sobolowski.
Find it on page 94.
Dr. Aguirre. So as I briefly mentioned in the director's report, we did implement our program self-assessment. So, this is an assessment that involves different participants. We have community stakeholders that participate. We need to have, and these are really requirements from the Office of Head Start as part of performance standards. We also have to have board members participating, policy council members that also need to participate. So at the center level, each center manager needs to contact any community partners to participate in their program self-assessment because it's conducted individually at each center. Of course, due to COVID, this year we implemented this event or activity via a virtual setting. And so they also have to work closely with their policy council representatives. They must also form part of that interview committee, as well as other center managers from other centers that are assigned to participate in this event. And so, so what you see here on this screen is the results for all the centers from Anthony all the way down to Isleta. And overall, collectively, there were 1,509 items that were reviewed by the committee. As you can see here in the middle, in the middle column, you see how many evidences were in compliance by center, because there are certain items that might not be applicable at one center or the other. Okay, so this was held again virtually, and the dates of which these were implemented was March the 24th through March the 26th. They were scheduled either in the morning or in the afternoon. They were no longer than about 2 hours, 2.5 hours at each of those centers. We had almost all centers came in at 100%, with the exception of 7 centers that came in at 99%. And then our administrative assessment was held on April the 1st. And our evidences were 31 of 31. Now, what I want to emphasize on the fact that this is held virtually, if this was held in person, the interview committee has other means of ensuring that we are in compliance. When it's done virtually, you know, all of it is done via interviews. Interview the teacher, interview the cook, interview the FSW, the family service worker, interview the center manager, interview a parent. So the person that's being interviewed really must do a great job of describing, if you will, the evidence, the compliance piece, right? Because you have to be able to verbalize adequately, you know, what you're being asked. So for the Head Start centers, you know, kudos to our staff. We're doing a great job in describing and speaking to the compliance of all these evidences that were reviewed. At the administrative level, it takes myself as a director, the other directors, program managers that are known as content area experts, who respond to the questions that are being asked by our board of directors that were part of this process. And I want to thank you for being a part of it. Our policy council president and treasurer was also part of it as well. We had 2 community members that participated. Again, this was conducted virtually. 31 pieces were reviewed, and so we came in at 100%. And so overall as a program, we came in at 99%. On the next slide, I want to highlight that we did have some areas that we need to go back and, of course, improve on, right? We did have 3 of the 379 Head Start teachers that unfortunately were not able to fully describe and explain the child abuse and neglect reporting process. So what this does, it really gives us an opportunity to retrain our staff. And again, you know, center managers immediately provided one-on-one training with the teachers. And then in regards to professional development, since we had March in-service training that was being held, you know, that was one of the topics that they focused on, right? To give everybody an opportunity to review this process. The other item that we also need to improve on was that 3 of our 40 Head Start Center managers weren't able to fully describe and explain the process of how now, because of COVID, you know, we went into curbside and, you know, delivering our monthly reports and other documentation, you know, so they weren't, you know, able to fully explain the curbside process. So of course, we worked with them. Our operations program manager reviewed the process with them. And so again, these Both these items were immediately corrected, both at the center level and administratively as well. And so that really does conclude the information for the annual programs offices.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
being one of the participants in this self-assessment improvement plan that took place this certain date, having interviewed the majority of the directors and hearing all the responses that were quite adequately answered, I was very satisfied that the areas that they were overseeing were really in compliance of everything that they're doing. So in that sense, I make a motion to accept this program self-improvement plan.
Self-assessment improvement. Is there a second? Joe?
Yes.
Joe Limon seconds. Any other questions, discussion? There being none, I will pull the board. Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Elder.
Aye.
Mr. Limon.
Aye.
Ms. Salaisis.
It's a life is a need.
Was that a yes?
Is that a yes?
Or Charlie Brown's teacher.
Ms. Salaisis, would you vote again? She muted still?
It sounded like an aye.
A long
It
eye.
sounded like a B.
Aye.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Topete?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The motion carries. And so we go to the next item, which is the budget revision for change order request for amendment number 13 for Pete Duarte Head Start.
So members of the board, as you know, part of your shared governance responsibility are your fiscal responsibilities with the Head Start program. And so as part of those responsibilities, anytime we have to submit a budget revision, you must be informed, okay? So as you also know, we have 10 facility applications that we submitted to the Office of Head Start, and these were due to the duration funding that we were awarded. And so currently, those 10 facilities that are being remodeled or repaired in regards to the duration funding or classrooms being constructed, they're progressing well. And so we did encounter a change order for one of them, and that was amendment number 13, Pete Duarte Head Start. And so the Office of Head Start, I submitted a request and asked them if it was possible for us to take the funding that was being left. We had some funding left over that came under budget for amendment number 16, James R. Vasquez, to cover the change order request for Pete Duarte. And so I submitted that for the amount of $96,505, and they accepted and approved it. And they said, okay, but contingent to this approval, you need to let me know, which is Ms. Cawthorn, who has been expediting a lot of our financials through the Office of Head Start, said you must ensure to me how you're going to communicate this change to your board and your policy council. So we were in time to place it on the agenda. And so again, they approved it. The notice of award came in officially on Monday, April the 19th. However, I had written to her and informed her and sent her a copy of the agenda to show that for both you and Policy Council, we were going to bring this item as part of your shared governance. And so having submitted that, then the turnaround was, yes, okay, you officially can do this change. And so we're now going to be able to utilize that funding from James R. Vasquez, amendment number 16, towards Pete Duarte Head Start, which needed the change order, which is a change order number 2 for rock walls, additional sidewalk, and an asphalt at the Bee Pond. And I'm sure Mr. Alarcon can speak to that. It just sounds really nice on paper, but I would not be able to fully explain that. I know he would. But, we must bring this up to you for approval.
Yeah, so this request actually came from Horizon, the Department of Land Management. And we had a section of about 150 feet of chain link fencing, and with the construction of the new parking lot, they requested this additional work be done. And that's the change order.
Any questions?
No.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Sanchez.
Second.
A second by Mr. Limon. I'll poll the board for your vote. Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Elder. Aye. Mr. Limon.
Aye.
Ms. Lysis.
Aye.
All right.
And I vote aye as well. So the motion's carried. So that concludes your report. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
for all your
much.
support.
Thank you.
So we will go into closed session for the purpose of considering matters for which closed sessions are authorized by Title V, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code Sections .71 through .084, whereupon the executive director, at the request of the chairman of the board of directors, will present for the board's consideration or discussion the following matters: personnel matters reviewed, appointments, resignations, terminations, workers' compensation, and then also personnel equity allotments. And we go out at 4:51.